have to start with yourself, because if you can't manage yourself, well, then you're not going to be effective in running a business. It's too risky for me not to try something and bet on myself. So it could have been kind of a rough start. And if I had sort of given up, that would have been unfortunate, because this has been wonderful to be a full-time coach for 8 years now and counting. My why is that I believe in helping others find a better way. I picked pretty much the hardest path that I could. And it took me years to get to the point where I was making a living. There are a lot of young professionals who need this.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Deep Dive Podcast. My name is Raissa, and we have...
And my name is Gloria.
And today we have a special guest. His name is Zachary Cochran. Correct? Okay, his name is Zach.
You got it.
You know, the names always get us, but his name is Zachary Cochran. And Zachary is an entrepreneur. He's a thought leader, a coach who has helped countless of people grow their businesses in the personal mindset. He's passionate about his business and personal development, and we cannot wait to dive into this conversation. Help us welcome Mr. Zachary.
Welcome,
Yay.
Zachary.
Thank you.
All right, so a little backstory on how we met. We met at the CEO breakfast, and you actually helped to facilitate that event. And it's a quarterly meeting as well. And I remember when we met, we just stayed in touch afterwards, and you launched a coaching program, and I joined the pilot. And I'm so glad that we were able to actually have this podcast interview, because we've been communicating and you've been so busy with the launch of your coaching program. And so congratulations and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Awesome. So I would like to know, how did you get started in your journey as a coach? How did that get started for you?
Yeah, it's a great question, because when you're 28 years old starting a coaching business, everyone's like, wow, this is a life coach with no life experience.
Ooh.
I'm not going to hire them. So it could have been kind of a rough start. And if I had sort of given up, that would have been unfortunate, because this has been wonderful to be a full-time coach for 8 years now and counting. And I got started because I had been helping my friends find jobs for years. And I thought, you know what, I'm enjoying this more than my actual job. Why not do that full time? And so I started as a career coach, and I even took an assessment that I ended up becoming certified to use called SkillScan.
Okay.
And it was like, hey, you would probably make a really good career coach. And it just kind of was validating, and it kind of moved me along the path to say, all right, I think having been in the role that I was in before, which was managing a museum in New York City, I was like, nonprofit, not making a lot in an expensive city. It's too risky for me not to try something and bet on myself. So I said, you know what, I'll do it. I'll figure this out as I go. And I moved back to Maryland in 2017 to try that.
And you never looked back ever since?
Didn't look back. I just, kind of was sad to leave New York City. I developed a really great community there over about 11 years.
Okay.
And yet moving back home, I was able to kind of rebuild a network from scratch. And I fell in love with the work that I was doing as a coach and trainer. And so I went from every couple of years jumping from job to job. Now I've been in this role for 8 years.
Wow.
So longer than the entirety of the jobs that I did before I started my business.
That's huge. Congrats on that, actually.
Thank you.
So when I met you last year, I really didn't really understand fully what you did until I, again, got to know you better and had these conversations. And I was like, oh, wow, it's really needed, having a career coach, having a coach you can talk to about personal development, business development. So these are things that are really crucial. So it's good because we have you on the platform, and we've never actually had someone that does what you do on this platform. So you are the first, career coach that we are having on the platform.
Thank you.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, so you keep saying we are all trained big words, career coach and this and that. What is it actually that you do?
Yeah.
And tell us about a difficulty that you had when you started.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so I sometimes like to describe the coaching work by starting with, like Simon Sinek talks about, start with why before I get to the what. So my why is that I believe in helping others find a better way. And I do that through holding conversations with them, and helping them to understand what are their goals, where are they trying to go, what do they want out of their life and out of their work. And that is essentially the work of a coach, is to have a conversation where I'm not necessarily telling them what to do, I'm not motivating them necessarily, but I'm drawing out from them the answers they already have within them by asking good questions that help them to think, wow, yeah, that is what I want. And so it really is neat to be able to do that as a coach. And you can do that in many different contexts, right? There are coaches in the wellness space, financial coaches. I just picked sort of the professional development domain to do mine, because I realized as a young professional, wow, if I could get a faster start as a young professional, that was going to let me be more successful in, essentially what's generating the money for my life and lifestyle. And so I couldn't invent a time machine, could do that for me, but I said there are a lot of young professionals who need this, and I would love to be a part of the solution to support them in figuring out whether they're going down the route of entrepreneurship, so thus I do business coaching, or if they're trying to advance in their careers, thus I do leadership coaching, or if they're trying to figure out how to transition and where to navigate in their careers, thus career coaching.
Okay, so you do both career, business, and what is it? Leadership.
Yeah, or management coaching. Yeah.
Okay.
So my real focus is on young professionals who want to become better, who want to advance faster. In fact, I'm working on a book that is called Advance, a young professional's guide to career success, and is really, the goal is to help them make more money and advance faster in their career.
Sweet. A lot of people want to do that, actually, be able to make more money and advance in their career.
Yeah, and avoid some mistakes. So tell us about...
Oh, yes, to your question about the mistakes. So, there's a book called What Color is Your Parachute, which is a great book for if you're trying to figure out what you want to do in your career, as well as if you're trying to get good advice for how to, essentially land a job. And one of the concepts they have in there is what I would call a two-step job hunt. They say, if you're trying to transition, let's say you're doing a job that you don't love in an industry you don't love.
Right.
Well, you could just jump straight into a new industry doing a new job.
Right.
Or you could take a step to a new job in the same industry. You could say, hey, I've got all this industry experience.
Yeah.
Or you could say, hey, I'm going to leave the industry, but stay in the same type of job that I was in, and say, I've been doing this job for years, right? So it makes it an easier path. Well, I picked like the most difficult path. So I went from museum manager in New York City to career coach, running my own business, so business owner hat, in a new geography, which I hadn't been in for my whole adult life, and it was in a new industry for me, a coaching and consulting space, and yeah, so it was like I picked pretty much the hardest path that I could. And it took me years to get to the point where I was making a living from doing the work. So fortunately, I had great support through people who cared about me to help me stay in the business long enough to make it. But I've seen a lot of coaches just never get to that point where they either can leave their day job or they just aren't making enough money to really sustain, and then they have to go back and get another job. And so, yeah, I would say my mistake was, to think that I could be operating at a six-figure coaching business within 3 years. That took me more like 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
So it was like unknown. You didn't really know where you were going, and you were just like figuring it out as you were moving forward.
Yeah.
We have noticed that 97% of you guys that watch our videos, you're not subscribed. You're not liking the videos. You're not sharing. You're not doing anything. Now, I don't know if it's that you're a silent hater, but I would assume you're enjoying the content. I would assume you're enjoying what we do. I would assume you would love to support us. You would love to see us grow. So please make sure to make sure to subscribe, especially your subscription, because it let us know that we are growing. And the more we grow, the more guests we're able to bring on the platform, the more we're able to share our experiences as podcast hosts, and the more we're able to bring you guys exquisite experience, like high level experience. So your support literally is what will build our brand. Exactly. You, the viewers, you guys looking at this. So when we ask for your subscription, we're asking for more than just, I know it's just easy, right? You're just giving, you just subscribe, but it makes a huge difference into the work that we do. And we hope to see more subscriptions moving forward. forward.
Yep. I had a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of, hope that I could figure it out. And I think that was right. It wasn't misplaced, but the problem with it was I was a little bit like thinking it would come faster than it really realistically could. And I'd say the general rule of thumb for us with where we're going in our careers is we think we can do it 2 to 3 times faster than we really can.
Right. Wow. But fast forward now, you are a 6-figure career coach.
Yeah. So again, career, business, leadership, I hit, and I'm proud to say it wasn't just 6 figures in revenue, it was also 6 figures in profit last year. And so that puts me in kind of a very, I would say, small group of, we'll say, coaches in the millennial generation, because even in the coaching space, according to the statistics that I've seen, 90% of coaches are Gen X or boomers or older. It's typically something that's done as a sort of retirement career oftentimes.
That's true.
Been there, done that, know what to do. Here I'm going to, coach executives. And so there's very few younger coaches who are, let's say, under 40. And so to kind of hit that level of success and to feel like, I'm in a career that's sustainable and I want to do this for maybe another 30 or 40 years, it's just really neat for me to say, like, one, yes, I did that. But 2, the impact that I'm going to get to have on a generation of upcoming leaders is what really drives me. Because my mission and the reason I have this business is because I want to see young professionals flourish in their careers so they can benefit themselves, their families, and their community.
That's great. Wow.
I love that. So I wanted to know, like, since you wear your business hat as well, right? How were you able to scale? Like, what's one thing that you did that really helped move that needle?
Yeah. So it's interesting because we met while networking, right?
Yes.
And one of the great things about networking and one of the challenging things about networking is it's like you never know exactly what you're going to get out of that opportunity. So I just kept saying yes. And I said yes to being a part of a chamber of commerce. And then I said, well, sure, I'll be on one of the young professional committees. And then, well, okay, I'll be on the board for that committee. And then, fine, I'll run the board, right, for that young professionals group. And then that put me on the board of the chamber itself. And that's what led to an introduction that was the connection that I had to my largest client ever. And, you never know where those clients will come from. So when you talk about scaling, I just didn't have like a clear path for that. But I did know that if I kept doing a lot of the right things and stayed with it, eventually something would work out. And what that led to was an opportunity to support a number of business owners, startup business owners in the childcare space. And it led to essentially $250,000 worth of work over 3 years, which I was not expecting.
Okay. Well, so that basically, just do the work and figure out the rest later. Put yourself in positions where you're meeting like-minded people.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. I think if you're trying to do the right thing, it's kind of like you're surfing. I've never really surfed, but the concept is like you got to be out in the water.
Yes.
You got to be knowing what to look for with the waves, and then you got to be willing to take some waves and ride it in. And eventually you hit one that's really big, that's really good, and you can ride it all the way. And so I think a lot of it comes down to like just knowing what does the terrain look like, being in the right place at the right time. Actually, for that introduction for that large client, I didn't even think it was anything serious. I literally didn't even take the call in an office. I was just like on the road. I was like, Zoom call. Sorry, I can't make it on screen.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes not what you expect, and yet it works out really well. And so I felt very grateful that came along, and I felt especially privileged to be able to serve some really wonderful people who care a lot about supporting children and showing them sort of what it's like to operate a business and learn more about kind of the business side and the success in that regard.
Okay, that's powerful. And, again, the people listening will definitely be taking a couple of notes as well, joining a couple of chambers of commerces, putting yourself on the board,
Yep.
give out a couple of gems here.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
Thanks for sharing that too.
You're welcome.
Okay, so personal development, right, and business development, those are two things that needs a lot of your attention. how do you keep that balance, where you don't focus on yourself, then your business, kind of falls behind, then you focus on your business, then your own personal kind of falls behind. How do you keep everything balanced?
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. When I was getting started and I didn't have a lot of clients, I just threw myself into a lot of personal development. So I was listening to audiobooks sometimes one a week. I ended up racking up about 100 books that I've read since I started the business 8 years ago. So,
I
on a
think
lot
you
of
shared
those.
that spreadsheet with me.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've turned it into a spreadsheet. It's actually on my LinkedIn. So Zachary Cochran, find me on LinkedIn. You'll see the spreadsheet. You can look
Wow.
at my reading recommendations.
You categorize them per what you want to learn?
Yeah, exactly. I would typically what I would do is I would see that I'm facing a problem in my business, and then I'd go search for a book that talked about it. So if I realized I was having a trouble with sales, I would say, all right, well, let me look up some books on sales. Oh, this one, The Science of Selling. That sounds interesting. Maybe I'll read that. Okay, there's 6 steps, and then if you can answer those 6 objections and have someone respond positively, you get the sale. Great. So it's like those kinds of things that gave me a framework for not only how to kind of manage myself effectively, which is what I would define as leadership, but it was an opportunity for me to solve the business challenges that I've been facing progressively as I hit them, such as sales, such as marketing, such as building the right systems, and even to the present day where I'm working on building a group coaching program. I just went on Amazon and found about a dozen books on group coaching and said, all right, let me see what I can learn from skimming through these.
Oh, that's beautiful. So you focused on yourself first, and then the business followed.
Yeah, I would say you have to start with yourself, because if you can't manage yourself, well, then you're not going to be effective in running a business. And insofar as and this was my experience, I realized that my business success was limited by what I was personally able to do or where I was stuck. So great case in point, I couldn't face rejection. I had grown up sort of with people-pleasing tendencies, and I realized I got to solve this, because if I can't handle the no, I'm not going to get clients, because I'm never going to ask anyone to work for me.
Exactly.
So it launched me into really, it was kind of, both at the same time. I was working on my business, but that pushed me into more personal development. And yet that personal development actually supported me in terms of working in my business.
Okay. That makes sense. So I'm wondering, do you have any client experiences or a story that really taught you a key lesson in your business? Perhaps a lesson where you realized that, okay, after this experience, I need to fine tune a couple of things in my business model to avoid, a situation like this again.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Got it. So, one of the things, I started as a career coach because I was helping friends find jobs. I realized I could do that and was successful in it. Thought, why not do that for more people? And then I started to run into the issue that, when you're good at your job and you're able to get people the job, well, then what happens? They stop working with you. And so you worked yourself out of a job real fast, and suddenly you got to find a new client. And I wasn't that good at the marketing part to be able to get a strong pipeline of lots of people just ready to work with me, especially as I was getting started as my 28-year-old life coach self, right?
At the time.
Yeah.
So I just said, you know what, this isn't working as a model. I have to find something that's recurring revenue, something that is going to be stronger for helping me to be consistent, work with people over time, which was my preference anyway.
Okay.
So I shifted my model away from career coaching toward that leadership coaching, toward trainings, toward the business coaching, which are much more recurring revenue sources or higher ticket sources that, end up giving you essentially more that you can live off of than the nuggets of, career coach clients. I'm always impressed by folks who can do career coaching exclusively. Not totally sure how they've been able to do that, other than just, do an amazing job and get tons of referrals and having figured that piece out. But that wasn't me. And again, I followed my passion around supporting young professionals and developing leaders. And I think that that's part of why the shift made so much sense for me to go more the leadership coach hat and business coach hat than just pure career coach.
Okay. So currently you do have a group that you're coaching at the moment, right?
Yeah, I did that today, in fact.
Oh, nice. Okay. So how is that going? And, so far, what are some, gems that you can share about this program and what makes it so special to you?
Yeah. Thanks for asking about it. And also, I owe you a thank you for helping me start it. You
Yes.
see, Gloria helped me in the pilot several
Oh,
months ago.
Yeah.
As I was
beautiful.
kind of building toward it, I was like, let me do a proof of concept. And she was willing to kind of step in on that and help me form the concept. So, building on that, I essentially had a soft launch and then officially launched this month, being September 2025. And so I was like, really excited about the concept because as I've been at this for 8 years, I started to run out of time.
Right.
The one-on-one coaching sessions that I love doing,
Mm-hmm.
I just can't add more of those because I'm already doing them sometimes at 8 or 9 p.m.
Wow.
and I might be starting at 7 or 8 in the morning. So,
Okay.
standard of living, or quality of life, right? Like you want to find some balance.
Mm-hmm.
And especially as a new parent, we have a 1-year-old at home. Like
Aw.
it's just like, you can't do that. That
Yeah.
pace isn't
Right.
sustainable.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, business model pivot again.
Mm-hmm.
Let me shift to something that works better for me and that achieves the vision that I'm going for,
Right.
which is to see 500 young professionals with access to monthly coaching by the year 2030.
Wow.
And I figure, why not create a bigger impact? I know coaching's powerful. I know that young professionals like me want to continue advancing and growing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only ways that I can do that is if I find ways to leverage both my time and the sort of support systems that I have. And group coaching made a ton of sense.
Yes.
Because I said, I can do that by myself
Mm-hmm.
as I get started, scale up 3 or 4 groups, prove the model, and then start to bring in other coaches as contractors to sort of scale me up the rest of the way. So that's
Nice.
currently the process that I'm in. And this is launch month. So I am just getting started. I am getting people into the contracts. But today we had 5 people in the meeting. I think at some point it's going to be where the group size is actually like 25. And then that's seats. But then, not everyone can make it every week.
That's
'cause
true.
it's, weekly for an hour. And so my hope is that it'll average out to about 10, 12 people per
Okay.
week who are really just like showing up for themselves, who are interested in learning. And the content and what we're talking about is just modular enough to where, today we might talk about emotional intelligence. Tomorrow we might talk about how to advocate for yourself.
Okay.
And both of those are really key things that are going to help you advance in your career faster.
That's true.
So it's sometimes it's in my mind, it doesn't just matter, hitting a certain curriculum. It's more about like, can you be well-rounded and can you add anything that's going to help you grow faster? And emotional intelligence is a great example.
Yes.
Because the statistics say that those with high emotional intelligence out-earn their low emotional intelligence peers by $29,000 per year.
Wow, that's a
So
lot.
over the
Wow.
course of a career, that's $1 million skill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's things like that like we're getting to work on in this group context. And it's every Friday at noon on Zoom.
Okay.
It allows people to show up and work on themselves consistently. And for the manager group that I'm launching every Tuesday at noon,
Okay.
just to give them a chance to kind of talk more about the challenges that they face as managers.
Okay.
Are people still able to join at the moment, or they have to wait for this cohort to be over?
Right. So I'm glad you asked. So
Yeah.
I actually chose to do something very different than most leadership programs that I've seen.
Okay.
So it's not cohort based. There's no waiting time. It's an open enrollment, ongoing program. You graduate when you decide you're done or when you move up to the next level. And so I did that because as a young professional, I've been through these leadership programs that are 6 months.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they were like intensive, so 4 days, 5 days.
Wow.
And like it's done, and then you don't get to do anything else. And you lose the supportive community of other peers who were showing up for themselves as well. And so I said, you know what? The adjustment that I want to make is to make this a continuous thing because we're lifelong learners.
Yes.
So why not just enter into this? And I think that works better for the young professionals. I think it works better for organizations that sponsor them. And it works better for me too, because I get to keep a client not just for, 3 sessions or 6 months, but for possibly years
Yeah.
and support them through their development as they grow as young professionals.
Okay, that's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I just want to understand how you group people up together.
Yeah.
Is it based off of like the topic that you want to, coach them on, or do you group individuals that have similar, you know what I mean, like mindsets or similar goals together? That way it's easier. How do you group it up?
Yeah, so right now it's pretty much grouped by individual contributors, so you're not managing anyone, and then you have at least one direct report and you're a people manager.
Okay.
So that's kind of the split that I'm starting with. And then my intention around this is, to get to 500 young professionals. That means I'm going to have 20 groups of 25 people. So there's going to be an ecosystem where you might kind of have a little bit more nuance. Maybe you prefer this time of day. Maybe you prefer working with people who are just early career, right? And we want to be in a group like that. So I think there will be some diversity of it over time as I find more coaches to support with this and I scale up with more young professionals who want this support. In fact, the next group that I have planned is for Thursdays at noon. I haven't launched it yet. I'm thinking March 2026, but it's a career navigation group. So if you are a young professional, you might be trying to advance in your career, but a lot of times, right, we hit these points where we realize it's just not working. I need a different job. I might even need a different career. And so you go into that and you're like, who can help me with this? How can I figure out what I want to be when I grow up? And that's where our career navigation group will either help you to figure out a redesign on your career, or it'll just help you to make those steps toward the job hunt, in the job hunt to get to where you want to be. So that would be sort of a separate group that I'd envision people could float between groups. Hey, like, let me step out of the young professional individual contributor group where I'm, self-pay and I'm, working on myself and trying to advance. Okay, I need to switch jobs. I'll float over to the career navigation group. And then once I land that job, hopefully they pay for me to do that. And I move up into the manager group, right? And suddenly, I'm getting sponsored and invested in and I'm continuing to grow.
Amazing. For those trying to join, what is the price range?
Yeah, so it depends. If you are a young professional and you are self-paying, it probably means you're an individual contributor, right? I try to make it as accessible and affordable as possible. Coaching's expensive. Oftentimes it can be $200, $300, $400 per session.
Yeah.
And so to have access to a group like this, right, there's going to be an investment involved. And ideally you get some support from your organization or from a friend or a family member or a partner. But if you're paying for yourself, my pricing I set as kind of an intro rate of $199 per month with the intent of making that as accessible as possible. Yeah. And if people really can't make that work for whatever reason, talk to me. Right? There might be ways in which I can find a way to either partially sponsor you. And I am thinking in terms of how can I function as either sponsor or get sponsorship dollars to make it more affordable, because accessibility is really important to me for young professionals.
That's wonderful.
For managers, I typically just say, if you look at a lot of the programs in the market, usually, again, it's the company or the organization that's paying for that manager's training. And those tend to be somewhere in the $500 to $1,000 per month over somewhere in that 3, 5, 6 to 12 month time period. So, again, you average that out. Let's say that someone's already going to be spending $8,000 for a leadership program that's for 6 months.
Yes.
Well, my alternative is $5,000 for 12 months. And then you keep doing that year over year. Employers can think of it like a fringe benefit, right? Something that they get to do to retain their employee, to keep them happy, and yet they don't have to really work on, being the one constantly coaching them. They get to have me come alongside and support whatever their objectives and goals are for that person's development. So that's sort of the initial pricing, right? $5,000 at the manager level, and then $200 a month for the young professionals who are self-pay. And again, at Adapt, I'll work with people if we can come to some sort of agreement if those numbers don't work for them in the short term, because my goal is to help you make more so that you can afford that and much more.
Yes, very important. Okay.
And you're equally this flexible when it comes to business coaching, because I know you also do business coaching, right?
Right. Yeah. So business coaching, it depends. Right now, my largest client, I'm doing a sponsored contract. So that's great, because startup entrepreneurs just don't have a lot of money for this typically. Yeah. And yet, if you're being sponsored by an organization, well, great. You suddenly have access to this great ongoing monthly coaching and maybe even training on top of that, which is, again, the large client that I'm currently working with. But yeah, typically, if you are an executive and you're at the, maybe you're running a multi-million-dollar business, you can afford $400 a month for a single coaching session, and that doesn't really make too much of a difference. But if you're in startup mode, that can be challenging. So I'll do one of two things for business owners. I'll either recommend that they work with me for a session. I treat it as a one-off. If they want to do more, fine, but I'll discount them down to my typical individual rate, which right now in 2025 is $200 per session. And then if that's even too much, I might suggest, hey, look, there are community resources out there, right? Like you could go find a mentor on Score, or you can go find your own mentor. And like, there are more affordable ways to do this.
Yes.
When I was getting started as a 20 something, I didn't have $400 a session to throw. So I did a couple things. I went and found a mentor who he was like, yeah, you read these 6 books, then come back and talk to me, and we'll talk again. So I was like, fine, I'll read the books. And I did. And we're still talking 7 years later.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So he's your mentor.
So yeah, he's been a mentor of mine for that time, and has really been guiding me through, the things that I need to know, how to be effective as a business consultant and coach. And then the other thing I did was I partnered with an organization that gave me access to a world-class coaching team that I just would have never been able to pay for to get coaching from at the rate that I was, receiving that investment. So yeah, there's ways to do it. Find a community.
Join Score.
Join Score. Personally, I joined the Maryland Innovation Center in Columbia because they had a great set of mentors, and it was affordable enough to where I could say, I'm paying $300 a month, but I can talk to these people frequently enough to where it's more than paid for. So there's lots of things out there.
It's a nice facility too, actually.
It is, right? Yeah, which is where we met, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
and that's where my office is over at the Maryland Innovation Center at this point. And so it's great. Definitely would recommend that as a resource if you're in the Columbia area, or again, talk to me, reach out on LinkedIn, because I'd be happy to try and connect you, with whatever it is that you're trying to find. I try to resource my network as well as I can. And part of that is, if you're a business owner, I've been there. I get it. You need some help, and let me point you in a direction.
That's awesome. Wow, that's really cool.
I love it. So a lot of great gems, honestly. I really appreciate you really being an open book. And we're running a bit out of time. So what's one song right now that motivates you to keep grinding?
Ooh, interesting. One song. So this is a little bit off the norm. So I listen to a lot of soundtracks and stuff.
Okay.
And
that's different.
Yeah, and so and occasionally we'll watch things that are in the kind of like Dungeons and Dragons world, like anime. So you're really getting the personal side.
My brother, my brother actually loves the soundtrack.
So like Free Ren is like an S tier anime. It's one of the best ones that I've ever seen. Granted, I haven't watched a lot of them, but
how does it go? Like, can you hum a little bit? Like,
so So I was gonna say there's a song in there called Zoltrack, which is it's just very very energetic. So I haven't listened to it enough to probably hum it. I don't know. Maybe you could like play it in the background for a second here. Kind of thing, but it's
Zoltrack.
It's Zoltrack, and it's this without getting too in the weeds, the mage who kind of couldn't beat the enemy ends up learning his technique and uses it back on him to take him out 80 years later. So anyway, it's a very like energetic song.
Okay,
and I definitely have put that on to like amp myself up going into
as you're driving,
like, a training or something like that. Yeah.
I love it. It's pretty unique.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, well.
You have any last questions before we wrap things up, Raissa?
No, I don't.
Awesome.
I think you were, like she said, being an open book and just really sharing the different options available. And I like the fact that you're very, flexible with your pricing, ready to help, more than just charge and, just collect or just like have people pay even when they cannot. You're willing to work with them, which is really great.
Yes.
It's really great.
It shows that you're genuine about what you're
Yeah.
doing. It's not just about like the money, but it's also about really helping people, which is great.
Yeah, I believe those can be aligned. So
Yes.
Amazing.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for
Oh,
having
that's
me on.
good.
Thank you for
I really appreciate
joining.
it.
So how can people reach you?
Oh, sure. So, yeah, if you are interested, find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to do it. Zachary Cochran,
Okay.
Cochran Coaching LLC. That said, if you want to follow me there, great. If you want to connect with me there, because I have a creator mode turned on, you just have to click the button to find connect. Write me a personalized message, though. 'Cause
Okay.
typically, I won't accept
Let them know.
anyone unless it's like, hey, I listened to the podcast. Like,
Yes,
let me,
yeah.
know.
Deep
Yeah.
Dive sent you.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to connect with you. And then there's also my website, CochranCoachingLLC.com. So those are probably the two best ways to connect with me. You can even schedule a 15-minute Zoom call with me on there.
Okay.
And that would be an easy way for us
For free?
to chat. Yeah, I try to, again, be accessible.
Yes.
Fit it in where I can. You might have to wait a couple weeks or maybe 4 weeks, depending on how busy I am.
Right.
Yeah.
To schedule it, but
Yeah.
definitely, I haven't yet hit the stage where everyone's saying like, Zachary, you're booked out for like a year. Well, I do have client scheduling trainings a year from now, but
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah, it's great to be in that place.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love supporting young professionals. So like, if you're a young professional, you want the support, talk to me, seriously.
Yes. I love how you looked at the camera for that too. Like you mean it. Okay, yeah, talk to him. Thank you.
You got it.
Well,
Is it an
thank you
outro?
Yes. Thank you so much, Zachary, for coming. This was a great conversation. We learned a lot. Who knows? I might be joining, who knows?
go.
Maybe, right?
Welcome to visit.
So for the viewers, leave your comments. What do you think about this program? Would you like to join? Do you want to know more? Be sure to follow him on LinkedIn and reach out to him just like he said. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we will see you on our next episode.
Yes. See ya. Thank you.